President Trump is breaking the internet with the tariffs. He's got China scared, trying to put together deals that don't make China look bad. He's got the groups that hate his guts hating him even more. And all of his voters seem to be very, very happy. To help me go through these big stories, I have Seamus Bruner. Seamus, thank you so much for joining me again.
Yeah, Stephen, it is always great to see you.
So just some background, Seamus is an incredible researcher. He and Peter Schweitzer and others, they put out incredible information. He's the author of Controligarch, Fallout, and Compromised. All three of these have been bestsellers. They expose government collusion and government corruption. Seamus, in your opinion, in what ways are the new Trump policies hurting the globalists and elitists around the world most?
Yeah, I mean the Democrats and the global elitists, they wanted UN compacts and they wanted climate accords, and Trump has shoved tariffs in their face, protectionist trade policies that are investments in American jobs. They hate this. They want to gut America, continue to gut America, ship the jobs overseas. Make all the products that the people around the world buy, make them in sweatshops. And Donald Trump said enough is enough. And finally, we have a president who plays tough with China. I mean, it's been decades. I mean, all the way back to the Bush administrations and before that we've been giving away the farm to China. And the Democrats, of course, do the same thing. But Donald Trump has finally said enough is enough. We're going to slap 100% plus tariffs on Chinese goods. And now China is begging for a deal.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin O'Leary was on Fox News. He's the Shark Tank investor. He said, hit China with a 400%, just push their face into the wall, make them regret the way that they have treated us. You have billionaire Bill Ackman saying, wait a minute, maybe America and Japan and this new partnership with India, maybe we should all gang up on China to push them back into a corner so that America can continue to be the global leader with our new partners, Japan and India and others, all benefiting. Your thoughts on those two comments?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. China is a paper tiger. I mean, when all of the factories in China start moving, I mean, we would like them to move back to America, but if they move out of China, that is still a win. That's going to leave the Chinese Communist Party up a creek without a paddle. I mean, there's only, China's over 1 billion people. Only 100 million or so are actually the Chinese Communist Party. And so the CCP, it needs to appear strong. Donald Trump is making them look weak. It's not unfathomable that the Chinese people, the non-CCP members, which is 90% plus of the country, will say, you know what, the CCP has had a good run, but it's time for a change in leadership. I'm not saying that is going to happen, but that is the hope here, is that the CCP is defeated.
Okay. There are groups out there that seem anti-American, but are definitely anti-Trump. Arabella, George Soros, some of these other fake NGOs that we learned were putting up small amounts of money, creating a fake charity or a fake do-gooder organization, and then they were just basically living off of stolen taxpayer money. Which groups, as you study them, are being hurt most, and are they going to retaliate against Trump? Are we going to see major pushback from these groups?
Well, yeah, you already are. I mean, these protests against Tesla, it's for a reason, of course, where they're burning down factories and committing terrorism, domestic terrorism with bomb threats and all of the rest. DOGE is the target here, and it's because DOGE has upended the business model of Washington, D.C. And so it worked like this. USAID is a prime example. It would fund all sorts of groups. You mentioned Arabella, but the George Soros network, and I've documented it extensively in the book Controligarchs, the George Soros network is hundreds of NGOs. There's too many to list on this show. And there's many Rockefeller and Ford Foundation and all kinds of groups, things you've never heard of. They always have pleasant sounding names like the Democracy Initiative or the Democracy Partners or something like that, USAID will funnel US taxpayer money into those NGOs, and they partner on projects. And I've not been to either Ukraine or some of these overseas places where the Soros network operates, but they partner with USAID, they partner with other government initiatives, they suck up US taxpayer cash, and none of it actually goes to the program that it's such a vague program like the Democracy Initiative type thing, that it's all about lining their pockets. And so back to the actions against Donald Trump and Elon Musk, that is what's happening with the protests. The protests are very well funded. You can just tell. I mean, they're handing out sheets and placards at these rallies that are cost money to make. And I've seen plenty of videos of these so-called protesters. They're really paid operatives. When a cameraman comes up and says, "What are you doing out here?" They're like, "I don't know. I was just handed a sign." So the business model of DC is being upended. The business model of the globalist elite is being upended by DOGE. It's shocking. It's a crime. I mean, I'm actually, Stephen, looking for arrests to start happening. This is criminal activity where you're stealing from the taxpayers and using it for fraudulent purposes to line the pockets of the globalist elite. And so, yeah, any protest you see, you can bet that it's well funded. I mean, there's some organic ones. And when you look at the organic ones, you can just tell the difference. There's not a lot of people there. They're kind of shrieking and whining with handwritten signs made with Sharpies and poster board from Staples or something. But the really organized ones and the violent ones and the ones that cause devastation, those are well funded by the people whose business model has been upended.
Yeah. You study the World Economic Forum. I read that Klaus Schwab is looking to get out of the game. Is this based on his age or health issues, or is he realizing, wait a minute, the global new world order is really going to struggle going forward under the Trump administration?
Yeah, I mean, he stepped back before Trump was elected. He might have seen the writing on the wall. I mean, ever since July of 2024, it was pretty clear that Donald Trump was going to win with that assassination attempt. But he stepped back. He did not totally step away. So he's kind of taken a non-executive chairman type role. I think you're right. I think it's a combination of all three. He's both old. He wants to put it in new hands, and he also sees that Donald Trump is going to be dealing body blows to the globalist order. But I can tell you that the World Economic Forum, the entire organization, it's a huge organization. It generates $500 million in cash every year. They're not going anywhere. They've stated since Klaus Schwab stepped back that they are going to be changing their business model slightly and moving into what they call public-private partnerships. And anytime you hear the words public-private partnership, you should be very, very afraid of that. It's a concerning thing. It's where you get all of the opaqueness and you get to hide behind all of the private sector things. So I'll give you a couple examples. So a public-private partnership, that's when Meta or Facebook works with the FBI to censor people on the platform, or when any of these big tech companies, that they've toned it back since Trump was elected. But prior to, especially during COVID, you had the government working with a private corporation, and the courts rule that the private corporation, it has the right to stifle free speech. This is not an infringement upon the First Amendment because it's a private corporation. Another example of a public-private partnership is a lot of these tech companies in the schools. They're creating this software to train students. And when parents try to take a look under the hood and see what their children are learning on their laptops, the companies say, oh, no, this is a private corporation. This is intellectual property. This is a proprietary work product. And so the government has partnered with a private company, and then they get all of the protections that the private company gets with none of the transparency and the government funding. So the World Economic Forum wants to be working like that, where there's all kinds of private businesses partnering with the government on initiatives. I mean, the entire COVID response was one big public-private partnership. And so there will be more of these to come. It's really fascism and totalitarianism. It may not be working under the Trump administration, But all around the world, these public-private partnerships are going to be causing a lot of misery.
Okay, interesting. Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, at a recent Trump cabinet meeting, just within the last day or two, she kind of dropped a bombshell, although she didn't make a big deal of it. She was giving her normal report to President Trump and other cabinet heads, and then she kind of casually peppered in that the CIA, the DNI, that they've been sitting on reports that U.S. voting machines can be easily hacked and elections manipulated. Do you think U.S. intelligence has known this? They've just sat on the knowledge. I mean, we now know that the FBI coordinated to block social media companies from talking about the Hunter Biden laptop. We know the CIA signed off and gave their blessing for the fake 51 intelligence leaders to put out that Russian disinformation. Now Tulsi Gabbard drops this. What are your thoughts on this? Are we going to get more information about the rigging of these election machines, about the security apparatus of America sitting on information that is actually damaging to America?
Yeah, I mean, well, the first part is that's absolutely true. And everybody's always known that the voting machines can be hacked. We weren't allowed to talk about it. I mean, Fox News got this huge defamation suit from Dominion Voting Systems. I'm not quite sure why Fox settled that suit, because settling it basically admits that it's not true that voting machines are hinky. And they could have taken that to trial and said, you know what? I mean, maybe the election was or wasn't stolen. They would have gotten discovery against Dominion Voting Systems. I always found it, odd that they settled so easily for nearly $1 billion. But that scared everybody else in the news media business away from talking about the machines. The thing about the machines is even the Democrats have admitted for many years, I mean, going back actually to 2004 presidential election, people have been talking about, you know what, voting machines, why do we even need voting machines? I mean, putting a bubble on a piece of paper is not, that hard to do. Counting a paper ballot, we've always counted paper ballots. Why do we need machines at all? And then I think it was in around 2018, so this is the first Trump administration, HBO put out a documentary, Kill Chain or something like that. And you had Kamala Harris, you had Amy Klobuchar, prominent Democrats all talking about the susceptibility of voting machines from being hacked. And so it's never been controversial up until the 2020 election. And then all of a sudden it became controversial to question the machines. And like I said, that Fox settlement really put out, a scare to everyone else. Like nobody else wanted to pay $1 billion settlement. So everybody stopped talking about it. So I'm not surprised at all at what Tulsi Gabbard released. I think we will learn more information. And just the problem is, the reason why we don't talk about machines all that much is because there are so many other problems in our elections that could lead to swinging the election in one or the other party's favor. I mean, just non-citizen voting. We did a report last year ahead of the 2024 election. Non-citizen voting is truly a thing. It's incredibly easy to get onto the voter rolls if you're not a citizen, because it's handled with motor voter. You go to the DMV to get a license because non-citizens are entitled to get licenses. All they have to do is check a box. Do you want to be registered to vote? And then it goes over to the Secretary of State for that state. And if there's someone like Katie Hobbs in Arizona, we know that Katie Hobbs is, not trustworthy. And so when she's overseeing millions of new potential voter registrations, even if it's an accident, let's just say it's an accident, we know that thousands, tens of thousands of non-citizens ended up on the voting rolls. And that would have swung the 2020 election in Georgia, in Wisconsin, in Michigan, and in Pennsylvania. It came down to just 10 to 20,000 votes. And each state has that many ineligible voters on the rolls. So yes, the machines are bad, but also the elections in general can be stolen in a number of different ways, as we identified in our top 50 election threats report.
Okay. Yes. Oh, that's right. I forgot about that report. One thing that really stood out to me was during the confirmation hearing for Attorney General Pam Bondi, they said, will you right now declare that the 2020 election was free and fair? And she said, I can't. I haven't investigated anything. And I actually have quite a few concerns specifically about the state of Pennsylvania that I want to review. So I think something is coming. Trump has said that they're going to be releasing reports and data, and then the head of the 17 intelligence agencies comes out and says, actually, these groups have been sitting on reports that these can be manipulated. So that will be really interesting. Trump mentioned in the near future, he will be revealing names and dollar amounts of evil political groups and NGOs that need to be exposed. You said you want arrests. I want arrests. I know my audience wants arrests. Do you think we just need to be patient? These investigations are happening behind the scenes, and we will see that.
I hope that there are arrests. I haven't seen any yet, so it's hard for me to say. I wouldn't want to get out over my skis and say that there will. There ought to be. I can say that with certainty. I'm going to take a look at this report that he's talking about, because we've got long lists, and we'll put those out and we'll share those with you first, Stephen.
Okay, great. Yeah, I would like to see that. The other thing is Big Pharma. They've got massive pull over the government. They've got huge influence over the mainstream media. They have brainwashed many people to be comfortable with chronic illness, that this is just normal part of life. But then you find out when you start digging in that Americans are some of the sickest human beings on planet Earth. And they would have you believe that the only way to better health, a better life, is through the golden path to Big Pharma. Your thoughts on RFK Jr. and Trump being able to make America healthy again?
Yeah, it's so essential. I'm so glad that Bobby Kennedy got confirmed. There was, he was one of the ones I was worried about. He and Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel. I'm so glad that he got in. There's so many Congress people, senators especially, on Pharma's payroll, both sides. So it was a question, but he did get in. That's great. I love the idea of going after the advertising money. I mean, it's billions and billions of dollars every year. I think we've calculated up to $6 billion is spent on advertising alone. And that doesn't include, by the way, the other influence mechanisms, lobbying, campaign contributions. So we're talking about, it's like a $20 billion plus every single year that pharmaceutical companies spend to control the narrative and to control our politicians. Secretary Kennedy has said that he's going to go after the advertising. I mean, that's going to be a death blow to the corporate media. I mean, that would kill every major network, because if you ever watch a major corporate media network, every third ad or so is a pharmaceutical product. And by the way, that's not just because they want more people buying, Ozempic or whatever it may be. It's because that buys the silence and complicity of the media networks. I mean, it just kind of goes without saying, if Pfizer is giving your network $1 million or more a year, then you're not going to want to lose that money. So you're going to kill stories that would be negative for Pfizer. I mean, you had Anderson Cooper and a bunch of people on CNN actually saying this is brought to you by Pfizer. I'm sure your viewers have seen those montage clips, brought to you by Pfizer. That buys the silence and complicity of the media network. So going after that is a huge thing. I think cleaning up the food industry with the dyes and all of the poisons. I mean, there are poisons in our food making us unhealthy. I think nothing could be better than having Bobby Kennedy as HHS secretary.
Okay. Yeah. I'm hopeful that he will be able to get a lot done. Of course, now you've got Candace Owens, which you never want to get on her wrong side, but she's putting out all this material that she thinks RFK Jr. is being blackmailed and compromised. I sure hope that's not true. Okay. You and your partners and the other people around you, you guys are really big on making America great. And part of that is getting away from China. President Trump has said just this week, nobody cheats America more than China. He puts this freeze on the tariffs for 90 days on every country except for China. What are you and Peter Schweitzer, what are you guys thinking about Trump's tactics against China and the U.S. economy?
Well, Schweitzer and I are both, for these tariffs against China. I personally would like tariffs to remain in place against many other countries, not just China. So, backing it off for 90 days, I could go either way on that. I'd prefer we use the tariffs to rebuild our industrial base. What backing them off all the other countries does and keeping them on China, it isolates the target. That's a good thing. Schweitzer and I would agree both on that it is good to isolate the target, China. But backing it off on other countries just means that we're going to get friend shoring, near shoring. The factories in China, they're not necessarily going to move back to America where they might have been decades ago. They're going to move to Vietnam and other Asian countries. Maybe they'll move to Mexico. And so it's good to finally take China seriously. I'm all for that. Schweitzer's all for that. And I just, I hope that there's a plan to rebuild America's industrial base, which was just gutted over the past few decades. And tariffs seem like a good way to do that.
Yeah, my understanding is a lot of these companies, they realized, wait a minute, we can go to these cheaper markets, but we still get access to America. And Trump is trying to say, no, we're cutting off access to the American wallet unless you come back in. It's going to be more and more expensive. But you make a great point. Like, we can't just not have tariffs with other countries. I mean, every country uses tariffs. I think maybe there was a pause just to allow people to come to the table and negotiate, because when Trump held up that board, you realized a lot of those American tariffs were going to be higher than what those other countries were hitting us with. And I think what we'll find is there'll be some leveling out, but he wanted to allow people to send their envoys and their ambassadors and their negotiators. I think there was also probably a lot of pressure from Wall Street. Hey, we don't want to panic people. We've still got the midterms coming up. But I think Trump has held his ground. He's being extremely hard on China, and I'm just hoping that will all bear fruit, or at least the fruit that we're all hoping for. But I mean, what are your thoughts on? I mean, I think I read that almost $4 trillion in committed capital, factories reopening, Hyundai, Honda, bringing back lots of American jobs. I read just a couple of days ago, Trump has brought in more committed capital in 60 days than Joe Biden did in 4 years. What are your thoughts on all of these jobs and income coming back to America?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I don't want to, and I wasn't being critical, and I don't want to ask for too much. I mean, we all should be extremely grateful to finally have a president taking the trade imbalances seriously. The fact that he's putting tariffs, it's been a free trade, administration after administration where the United States charges zero tariffs, even as, like you said, every other country is tariffing us. And so any tariffs are better than what we've had before. And so I'm very grateful. And I saw the $4 trillion. I mean, that's huge. I think what Donald Trump is doing is creating a business climate in America that says, come work here, come set up your factories here. That's going to take time. I mean, you can't just do it overnight. And so I kind of like the cat and mouse game that he's playing. I'm glad he's isolated China. I think it's all positive.
Yeah. Well, I think what Trump realized maybe during his downtime was the greatest asset on planet Earth is actually the collective spending power of the American citizen. And so he's realizing, wait a minute, we've got this population of like 350 million. Nobody spends money like Americans, but we've got, if you want access to this honeypot, you got to pay the price to be here. You can either pay it, physically out of your wallet, or you can pay it through onshoring jobs that pay well. And we're seeing both. And so I'm just like incredibly optimistic about everything that's going on. Would you agree that one of the greatest assets in the world is the collective spending power of the American people?
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing that even comes close to that much economic power. The Chinese people are not spending money like we spend. We've got a great, robust, or hopefully getting more robust middle class. We once had a great middle class, and it's growing again. So no question that is the greatest economic power on planet Earth.
Yeah, it's exciting. Seamus, I know you're very busy. I appreciate you coming on. If people want to see your research, see your the reports that you guys are putting out, follow you online, where's the best place for me to point my audience?
Yeah, I'm on all platforms. I'm mostly on Twitter at Seamus Bruner, SeamusBruner. And then you can go to thedrilldown.com to get Peter Schweitzer's podcast and any articles that we write for our website. And we publish a lot of different places, Breitbart and other sites, but we consolidate and put all of our news on thedrilldown.com.
Okay, great. I'll make sure to put that. Okay, author of Controligarch, great book. You've got Controligarch, the sequel, coming out soon, so we'll have you back on to go through that. But I'm going to put a direct link to your books as well. Folks, if you want some of the most researched information on these dark money funnels, these dark groups that want to hurt America, Seamus and his team have they've got it all written down. You guys bring the receipts, you bring the heat. I love that. Seamus, thank you so much for coming on. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend.
Thank you, Stephen. See you soon.